Today we're taking an exclusive look at K-TEK's newest Stingray audio bag prototype, and they want to know what you think. Welcome back, guys. It's been a long time since I've posted a video. I realized that. I got pretty busy last year, and then suddenly we all got very unbusy with everything going on. I hope you guys are all hanging in there. I thought it might be fun to put together a video and just kind of zone out and pretend like everything is fine, and we can talk some shop here. I'm pretty excited about this one. I recently joined the Nova Club. It's a Zaxcom mixer recorder with 8 channels of receivers all built inside of this little 3.7 pound little tiny box. And K-TEK was nice enough to let us take a sneak peek at their prototype for one of the new sound bags that they're adding to their Stingray line. This bag is going to be called the Stingray JuniorX. The X stands for extra small or maybe extra compact, and this bag is definitely a lot lighter and tighter. There will also be a new Stingray Small X and a large X to round out their Stingray lineup. Since this is just the prototype, I encourage you to leave your opinions and any ideas you have in the comment section below for K-TEK to see. And while you're down there, feel free to give this video a like and consider subscribing to get notification when I post future production sound videos. So I'm going to go over this bag. I'll point out the changes that they've made compared to the original Junior, and then I'm going to go back over it and talk about what I like or dislike about the changes and maybe offer some of my own ideas for further improvement. In this current iteration, the JuniorX prototype is smaller and lighter weight, coming in at 2 pounds 4 ounces. The original Junior comes in at about 2 pounds 9 ounces. These weights are without any sort of harness or straps or rain guards or stealth covers. This new outer material is a little lighter. It has a slight gray sort of sheen. It's not reflective, but not as flat black as the older bags. A subtle update, but I should note that I'm blasting this bag with a lot of white light to really highlight the detail, so I think it's looking more gray silver on camera than it really is. I would say from like 10 feet away to me, it still looks like a black bag. At a glance, this new bag borrows a lot from the original Junior, structurally and layout-wise. Another thing I noticed right away is that the main compartment here is definitely a bit tighter. It would fit the Nova mixer perfectly. It'll also fit the 833, the 633, or the Zoom F8 as well. But if you're using those mixers, you're going to need probably wireless receivers too, and so I think you'd end up putting those up here under these elastic bands here in this top pocket. The front pocket is also really similar. It Velcros shut. It's got the 2 little elastic pouchies in here. It also has the hole down here that passes into the main compartment. One thing that is different about it is they replaced what used to be zippers here to let cables come in and out to these little Velcro tabs instead, which I think is nice, probably saves a little weight. Also very similar looking zippered side pockets here with these same rope or string zipper pulls. They did keep these outer straps, which are nice for hanging transmitters. I noticed they removed the divider between the inside and the outside pockets. They also removed the 3 little pen loops since there's no longer a divider wall to put it on. They also changed the zipper placement on the inside of these like netted mesh pockets here. It's like a long zipper that sort of almost runs up the middle of the length of the pocket, as opposed to the older zipper that was sort of like a half moon like this. They kept the retractable handles found on most of the previous Stingray bags. And one thing new here is that they added this sort of pleather, soft, smooth, sleek looking wrap around the handle. The inside is still lined with that red-orange soft felt-like material, and the bag still uses this 2-hoop design to offer rigidity and protection. The bottom door still latches shut, but I noticed right away that they're using a much lighter material. It's sort of like a rubber or latex kind of thing, and there's no longer a Velcro strap in here to hold the battery. And in this prototype, they've actually added some ventilation holes here. K-TEK also removed that hard rubber. They had a piece here and here, and I think there was a little swath in the middle on the original Junior, which I'm sure helped remove some weight from this bag. For mixer mounting options, the bag still has a pair of Velcro straps at the top corners, and with the Zaxcom Nova in mind, which doesn't have any top mounting hardware, they've actually added a pair of Velcro straps at the bottom here to anchor the Nova from its rear hoops. This bag also includes a pair of Velcro straps, which helps cradle the mixer up to a certain height. And this prototype retains that collapsible kickstand we saw on the original Junior. We see the same D-rings for a shoulder strap or up to a 6-point harness. And it looks like we have the same amount of MOLLE loops here, maybe a few less on the back compared to the old Stingray Junior. All right, so in general, I would say that the JuniorX is basically a lighter, tighter Junior, maybe with some Nova-specific additions. The next thing I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna just as quickly as possible, tell you the things that I would like to see tweaked about this bag. And as I said before, feel free to dive into the comments and let me know if you agree with what I'm saying, disagree, or if you have some other even cooler ideas about how to make this bag even better. Now, while I do enjoy having a kickstand on this bag from time to time, especially like sit down corporate days where you're just kind of, you're not running and gunning, you're not wearing the bag, it's really nice to be able to prop the bag up. But I will say, and I would like to make a motion here, and I would put this at the top of my list as far as changes I'm suggesting, is to make this removable. Maybe make it like into a little tri-fold thing with Velcro, and it just gets stuck on here. Just make sure we leave the soft side Velcro here, otherwise it will eat up our shirts. But I think that's an accessory that is something that should be optional, and I think it'll also help bring the weight of this bag down just a little bit. I know every little bit matters because it all starts to add up, right? Now, as for these side pockets, I would like to see these looking more like the original Junior pockets, to be honest. I think it's weird that there's no divider between the outer entrance here and the inside mesh netted entrance, because it's not two pockets, it's basically one if there's no divider between the two. And to be honest, I'm really gonna miss these 3 loops, those little pen loops in the right pocket. That's where I always like to put my Sharpie and my tweaker and my little pair of scissors. I think the interior looks fine as is. I think this is really soft and probably very light kind of felt material, so I say we let that ride. It did cross my mind about the hoops. I kind of wondered if, you know, maybe they don't really need to be there, but at the same time, I realized that they are, in fact, sort of what gives this whole bag rigidity. I mean, there's a little bit of like wiggle here, but once you have your mixer locked in there, it really locks it up, and it kind of acts as like a little bit of a cage. I've seen some like DIY boutique bag makers coming out with Nova bags, and to be honest, it just looks like a canvas burrito. And you know, when I really think about it, I'm like, you know, I think I'd like to have a little more protection and rigidity in my bag to protect this super expensive equipment that we're putting in here. So in my opinion, a couple extra ounces are worth it. And when I asked Tino about this yesterday, he said that the material inside here is actually just like a hard composite plastic kind of thing. It's like a honeycomb kind of thing, so it's extra light, but it is very, very strong. I do think the additional Velcro mounting points here at the bottom on each corner, as well as these 2 removable straps for cradling, are critical for getting the Nova to sit in perfectly at just the right height and to keep it nice and solid. So I would say to K-TEK, let's definitely keep all of that. I do think this smooth pleather sort of addition here on the handles it looks nice, and it's smooth, it feels nice. But I had no issue with the previous handles, which are, as far as I can tell, the same thing just underneath this. So I think if we could get rid of these, we might, you know, shave an ounce or 2 off this bag. It couldn't hurt, right? And then this is a total just my OCD always being a little weird about this bag, because the original Stingray has the same thing happening where this handle fully goes down, but this one, for some reason, just like sticks up by an inch. And I know why. It's because the handle essentially goes like this, and then it connects down here somewhere, which is what keeps it from popping out. And because there's a hole cut on the inside of the main compartment into this top pocket, that hole like here, the bottom of the handle bumps into it when it hits that point right there, so it can't go any further down. So I don't know if maybe the hole gets moved down or smaller, or if maybe the handle doesn't need to come up as high as it does. But I wouldn't spend too much time on that, but that's just another very small thing I'm gonna throw in there. Now, as for these transmitter little loops here on the side, I do like these, and this is very low priority on my list of things I would tweak. But maybe if we're gonna change stuff, I would drop them down to about here, like right where the zipper sort of meets the bag again. That way, if you open the pocket, the weight of the transmitter doesn't make it fall down and get pulling on your cables and stuff. I think it would support it better at that height, and I think any sort of RF performance difference between here and here would be negligible. I do like this bottom door material. I feel like it's clearly a lot lighter than what we had, not to mention they lost that hard rubber here, which I think was probably a good idea to shave some weight off the bag. The ventilation though, I wonder about this because the Nova unit specifically does have a fan built into it that will turn on if you hit like extreme temperatures. Zaxcom, the manufacturer, claims that they don't really even know if the fan's necessary. They just put it in as like a fail-safe. So it does have some space under it, under the unit, to kind of keep material away from touching it, and which I think is probably a good idea. But I did run tests on my own where I closed the door and let the unit run for a few hours, check the temperature on it, and it was hovering at like 135 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I did another test where I covered these holes with a bunch of tape and let it sit for the same amount of time. And you know, the temperature went up just a little bit. It went up like, I think, between 2 to 6 degrees. I did one test outside in the sun, and I did another test in just one of the hotter rooms in my house. So I almost don't know if the ventilation is really necessary. I think drilling these holes probably buys us some weight, right? Because we're losing material by doing that. But I also wonder if having holes on the bottom of the bag might lead to moisture getting inside the bag. All right, so there's one more thing that's not shown on this bag that is actually kind of on the table for discussion right now, and that is they're considering putting some sort of like antenna mounting hardware built into this area here, I think maybe in place of these little, whatever these are, rivets or something. And the idea is that it would be like a 1/4-20 or a 3/8, and then you could have like a little, you know, some kind of an arm that comes off that to hold like a tablet or a phone, or maybe just like a pair of dipole antennas. So it's a cool idea, and I know they mentioned it, and they even showed sort of the rough idea of that when they unveiled their small X bag back on the Sound Summit, but it's not implemented on this bag yet. But they want to know, should it be? And this is kind of one of those things where personally I'm leaning towards a no on that, and I you know, don't want to wish away any features here, but I don't want to add any more weight to this bag, and I'm sure adding bigger chunks of metal here is going to do that. And I also just feel like the whole point of this bag, especially for Nova users, is to keep their rig nice and light and tight. And so I don't foresee myself wearing a bunch of antennas on a small little bag like this. This is, in a perfect world, a Nova user. You deploy your transmitters and you're just sitting pretty with like a 6.5 pound bag for the rest of the day. Wouldn't that be great? I think the days of those big, huge 688 rigs with a sea of 411s are over. And if anyone's staffing up reality packages, I think they should be looking into these the Nova systems, because they're quite amazing when you really think about what you can achieve in such a small, light little footprint like this. All right, so there it is, my list of demands. If you have any of your own, make sure you put them in the comments. I want to thank K-TEK again for even letting us take a peek at this prototype. I think that's really cool that they're willing to let people have a say, and you know, they're very interested in making something that their customers actually want. I like to think that if we put our heads together in the comments, we can hopefully come up with a nice balance of form, function, weight, and protection. And until then, maybe the next video will be whatever this bag actually turns into once they hammer out all the details. And until then, we'll see you on the next one. Make sure you hit like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. All right, thanks.